I feel the master. I feel it. Y'all ready? They ready? Well, come on. Come on.
Brothers, I wanted to introduce two great individuals at Sigma Delta. Brother Barnes, you mind starting us off with your fraternity information?
Yes, sir. I'm Vernell Barnes, the ace on the spring line from 1972 for Sigma Delta via Iota Omega.
Okay.
And I'm George Smith, number 10 on the charter line at Sigma Delta Chapter, Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay.
I'm at Auburn University.
Well, you're Alpha Phi now, so we understand that you get a little confused at times because you spent so many years at Alpha Phi because you've been my father at Alpha Phi for so long.
That's right. I'm from Birmingham.
Yeah, that's right. So let's start off with you, Brother Barnes. You were the charter line at Sigma Delta, and that's in Auburn, Alabama. Tell us a little bit about the atmosphere during that time frame, especially since you were the ace.
Well, it was a time, right after, I guess you'd say, full-scale integration. And Auburn being the kind of university that it is, it's just like they shy away from controversy, and they'll do whatever they can to avoid controversy.
Right.
And I always kind of felt that pretty much, I look at it sort of a benign neglect. They weren't against us being here, but it wasn't necessary that they were going to do a whole lot to help you either. You either make it or you don't.
Right.
And so for a lot of us that were on that charter line, we came out of high schools where a lot of the male teachers were members of the fraternity. And so, and some of that I didn't find out until I actually went back to my hometown to work for a while.
Gotcha.
Where I was part of the Brotherhood, being involved in trying to get a graduate chapter established in Natchez, Mississippi, which is now New Zion.
Okay. Now, Brother Smith, you've been fraternity deep for a long time. Tell us, but let's start off with Sigma Delta and get your perspective of kind of that atmosphere. And how many years has it been?
47.
47 years. Okay. Tell us a little bit about your perspective of that time frame.
For one thing, Sigma Delta and Kappa Delta and UAB were the first predominantly white institutions to have a predominantly black fraternity on their campus.
Okay.
Basically, we were the first in the state of Alabama. Ironically, Sigma Delta was founded on May 19, 1972. Kappa Delta was founded on May 19, 1972. So we look at each other as twin chapters.
Okay.
The atmosphere at Auburn certainly was different. Coming from a predominant, not a predominantly, but an all-black high school, and coming down to Auburn, where less than 2% minorities. It was a major change for me. So most of the things that we saw on campus, basically we changed. We changed. We got the Confederate flag out of the stadium. We were the first to enter murals, although we had to have some help from the black population at large, but we were the only fraternity. So there was no Kappa, no Delta, no AKA, none of the other black groups. So we were the first for about 2 years.
So now both of you have done a lot in the fraternity. Barnes, tell us a little bit about some of your accomplishments in the fraternity since well, before we get there, actually, let me ask this question. How many members were on your line?
There were 14 who were initiated.
Okay.
We probably started with a few more who dropped off for various reasons. Had a couple of football players, and it kind of collided with their spring practice. So it wasn't conducive for them at the time. But, the 14 that made it, we were a tight-knit group there for a short period of time because there were a couple of seniors who graduated within, the first 3 quarters after we had been initiated.
How many are still with us?
There's a total of 12 still living there. 2 passed away.
Can you say those 2 names so we can honor them?
Jeffrey Green
Okay.
and Jonathan Allen.
Okay. What now? I was about to get into some of y'all's individual accomplishments. Tell me a little bit about some of the individual accomplishments you've had in the fraternity, and we'll get to professional a little bit later.
Well, I probably don't have a lot of individual accomplishments.
Okay.
I'm one of those quiet brothers that will just work, especially if it's something involving helping in the community. There is a brother in the graduate chapter that I'm a member of, Kappa Alpha Alpha, who focuses on reading and math skills for elementary students at a particular elementary school. And I do that,
Okay.
along with maybe voter registration, other things like that. So,
Okay.
but as far as for being like an officer, that's something that I have not done since I left New Zion, which was 39 years ago.
Okay. Now, George, we can sit here all day and not get into some of the stuff that you've done. How about just giving us a few highlights? Because you've even been an executive director for the fraternity, and just tell us a few things that you've done.
Well, some of the things I'm very, very proud of has been the first vice bachelor's at Sigma Delta,
Okay.
the second bachelor's. I was also second vice state representative, so I'm very proud of those positions. And I also was state rep for the state of Alabama in about 2000. Bachelor's of Alpha Phi chapter from 2000 to 2002. And as you said, being executive director for the fraternity from 2006 to 2011 was a proud accomplishment. I was actually the executive director during the centennial.
Correct. And you just gracefully left being the district marshal for the 7th district recently. Y'all have had a lot of unique experiences in Sigma Delta as far as some of the history making stuff that y'all have done. Which one of you wants to tell the story of the flag? I heard about it when I moved in this area.
I can give you my version.
Let's hear your version, because I know where the flag resides right now.
Yeah.
So why don't we hear you tell the story?
All right. Well, at some point there was discussion among black students in general about flying the Confederate flag at the stadium.
Correct.
And at that time, the stadium was a lot smaller. I think it was probably like 65,000 seats.
Way bigger now.
Way bigger now. And they flew 2 flags on the east side of the stadium.
Okay.
One at the north end zone and one toward the south end zone. And it was toward the south end zone, more like the southeast of the stadium, where student seating was available, as well as like freshmen and some sophomores in end zone itself. But we all kind of gotten together and just said, why don't we just get block seating? And we did that. And George, being the radical that he was at the time.
Not George.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, maybe.
Even George in his younger days?
Oh yeah. But we had managed to make a trip to Sanford Hall to talk to the president about it.
He took over his office. He's being polite.
It was one of those things where you see a group of students, black students, walking from Haley Center in that direction. Nobody's thinking much about it. But when we get there, his administrative assistant told us that he wasn't in town. And so we just kind of all said, okay, well, we'll wait. Now, this being a Friday afternoon, as I recall, that's a pretty long wait if he was actually out of town. But somebody had already seen him walk into the building. So we decided to rearrange his furniture a little bit and play bid whist. So before we could get the first hand going, he miraculously showed up.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So we talked about it, and he kind of shined us on. Like I said, it's a conservative place. Controversy is just off the table, period. And he said he would look into it and do what he could. And a few weeks go by, and you got to remember, this is also during football season. So when nothing happened, George just kind of nudged me at the game and said, "Let's go take the flag." And you know,
So how did that, George? What were you thinking at the time that the nudge occurred?
Well, first of all, the president, I asked the president, he told me, basically, he says, do you know how much money that Confederate flag brings into the university? And so I asked him, I said, okay, so we're going to fly the red, black, and green. And he says, you could fly it. I can't guarantee you how long it's going to stay up there. So that resonated with me. So we just, when you say enough is enough, we're just going to the games and we're looking up there at that flag. And something just hit me and said, man, it's coming down today.
Yeah. No, he was looking up at the flag. I was watching the game.
So George was completely in another zone, right? Yeah, okay.
So it was at this point, it was like, well, okay, if you're gonna get kicked out of school, you might as well get kicked out of school with somebody else. So we go up, lower the flag, and surprisingly, nobody said anything.
Nothing, nobody said anything.
Nothing. And so go back down to our seats, and now I'm thinking, okay, looking around for the
Security,
yeah.
somebody.
They never showed up. And I thought, okay, they're gonna stop us when we go out. So there was a young lady who became a Delta, but she was married to one of our line brothers. And back then, the young ladies carried these huge purses, just monster huge. So I take the flag and stuff it in her purse.
He had an accomplice.
So before the game is over, she and I left. We get to the gate, still nobody showed up, and we walked on out. And we didn't hear anything about it. So the following home game, George has got his eyes on the other flag. And so I look at him, then I look over at the other flag, and I go, nah. So he convinces two other brothers, Henry Aldridge and Sidney Brewer, to go with him. So they go over there. And you know, you got to remember, this is probably about a 70-yard distance. Okay. So I'm sitting there watching the game, and the young lady that helped me get the first flag out, she looks at me, you know, because it took them a while. They were still over there. She says, "Are you going to go over there and help them?" And I look over and I said, "No, they'll be back in a few minutes." So when they finally come back, I look at George. Okay, so now tell me what happened. He said, "Well, the security guard wouldn't let us take it." And I said, "Why?" And he looked at me and said, "Well," the guy said, "Man, I understand, but if I let you take that flag, I'm gonna lose my job."
Yeah.
So they put a black security guard on it.
Oh, so they got smart on the second one.
They got smart on the second.
They quietly let it go on the first one, but they got smart on the second.
And it wasn't like they didn't know who did it or that they couldn't find out who did the first, but they could have if they really wanted to. But the second one, it flew probably another, 78 or 79 is when they finally took it down.
Now, when did this first one come in?
That would have been 73.
3-ish, 4-ish?
73,
Okay,
fall of 73.
okay.
And,
So George, you know George went to every game looking at that flag, right?
he could have, but it didn't matter. It wasn't coming down.
George, tell me about
The
that.
story was a little, I recall it a little different.
Okay, well, help us fix some of the pieces in your opinion.
So as we're lowering the first flag, people around me were saying, "Get that nigga. Get that nigga." So I turned around and said, "You get this nigga." So that's all they talked, but nobody came and approached us. And the other stuff he said about getting the flag down is true. But we had the rest of the brothers in the fraternity ready and waiting. So that
Just in case.
yeah, they were like not up at the flagpole, but just beyond. And so the next week I'm going.
Because this is, I mean, for people that don't know, this is a dangerous situation during that time. This is not like, you know, you just walk up and get something and it's free and clear. Nobody's going to talk to you or say anything. There were some hostilities that could have happened during that period
That
of
was
time.
some verbal hostilities, however.
On the second flag, there was.
Yeah, well, I'm sure.
because that was over in paid seating, non-students, and they were threatened as to, throw the N-word over the wall. And Sidney, in his infinite wisdom, like, you come up here and throw the N-word over the wall.
Yeah. Okay.
Jose. And so nothing transpired from that. But like I said, the security guard, they couldn't get the flag, which was fine.
So
But around '79 is when that last flag came down. They had changed football coaches, and he pretty much went to the administration. I can't recruit as long as y'all are flying that flag. So they couldn't just have 2 empty flagpoles. What they did is they added 10 more flagpoles, then put up a flag for each school in the conference.
in the SEC.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the important thing to remember is they never replaced that flag.
Well, speaking of the flag, where is the flag now?
I have the flag in my possession at my house. I
And
don't know what to do with it. I'm not giving it back to them. At one time, I thought about giving it to the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute, but then you would have had to have all of the documentation and would have had to
that
take
it
all
was
this.
from this, that, and the
Yeah.
other. So,
Well, they wouldn't take our word for it?
so during that period of time, you guys really set the standard for, even after the civil rights situation, y'all set the standard for trying to make things right for the Auburn University campus.
Yes.
The biggest thing that I liked about it is that we did do voter registration and pick up people to go to the polls to vote. Food drives, Red Cross blood drive, we did that. March of Dimes walkathon, 2 of us did that. And then there were, it was, I've forgotten the name for it now, but where you kind of Big Brother program.
Okay.
We were going to get one young man, young boy from over in the Opelika area. And we wound up not with just him, but with his brother and his sister.
His mother and his dad. I think that was one of the most, that was probably, in my mind, the most important thing that we did at Auburn University, because we brought attention to the fact that there were actually poor people surrounding Auburn University. And we had articles in the newspaper and everything else talking about our family. They have been burned out. We raised all kind of money and stuff to help them get a new place. And it was just, to me, it was the most important thing that we did during that era, more important than the flag.
So now I always ask a couple of questions. I kind of warned y'all about them ahead of time. But here's the question I asked first to you, Brother Barnes. What has this fraternity meant to you at this point in your life?
The fellowship and friendship. A lot of the brothers that I know in different parts of the country, mostly in the South. That's been the biggest thing. And like I said, the social action programs.
Okay.
With me,
Brother Smith?
basically, the thing that I remember most is us coming in as Sigma Delta coming in as a brand new chapter with not a whole lot of tradition. As I traveled over the state of Alabama and some other chapters outside of the district, we like to call it a hippie era. All the challenges that you see today, we didn't have to go through a lot of it. Sure, they wanted to know that we were brothers. But obviously, there was a lot of stuff that we did not know. And they took the time to teach. It wasn't, I'm going to take your shirt off until you learn this and another. It was just camaraderie. People knew where we came from. They understood the significance and the history of where we came from. And they just provided nothing but knowledge.
What would you like to tell some of our newer brothers or individuals that may not even be part of the fraternity at this point in time as words of wisdom moving forward?
Look after your community. Look after the people that are going to come behind you, whether it's a fraternity brother or not on campus. Just help out wherever you can. And for me, it's as simple as that.
Brother Smith?
For me, it's inside of the fraternity, beneath the helmet, under the veil, is that we're friends. if you don't believe somebody wasn't made right, which is absolutely asinine, if you came into the fraternity and you got on your knees and you made a pledge, you're a full-fledged brother. So show friendship. That's what our fraternity is about. It's about friendship. It's not about how much you know. If you don't know something, ask. If somebody realizes that you don't know something, then they'll teach you. And the second thing is, as I was an international social action chair and community and civics affairs, my emphasis was on things like diabetes and a lot of the mandated programs. And what I like most about the fraternity is the fact that we service the community, which is what our fraternity was intended to be.
So, you know, it'd be wrong. We talked a lot about the fraternity. We talked a lot about SD. Tell me a little bit about your immediate family and what you do personally. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Just a little quick snippet of yourself, brother.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm married, 2 sons.
Wife's name?
Damaris.
Get that credit while you got.
And the youngest son is a member of Omega.
Okay.
I'm a licensed architect. The first African American to graduate from the Aldrich program.
Okay.
1975. Also the first African American to sit for and pass the exam in the state of Mississippi. So those are just 2 small things.
Okay. First man.
Well, I have 2 brothers and 3 sisters. First person in my family to go to college, much less than graduate from college. I'm very proud of that. Came from historically black high school. One of the first person from my high school to attend and graduate from Auburn University. So I always tried to give back. I'm proud of 2 sons, Anthony and Gerald. Anthony was initiated into Sigma Delta chapter Auburn University. Gerald Smith was initiated into Beta Eta chapter at the University of Alabama. If you know the rivalry between Alabama and
your household is usually on fire.
It was not a house divided. It was a house burned.
Tore up and burned.
Yes.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, I wanted to say it's been a pleasure sitting down and being able to talk to you. When I kind of heard both of you were the charter members of Sigma Delta, I wanted to get your stories on record for the 7th District and for the fraternity. And neither one of you have disappointed as far as stories and information, and I greatly appreciate it. And I'm sure the 7th District appreciates it.
Well, we thank you for the opportunity. I thank you for the opportunity to share our story.
Well, tune in and we'll continue doing these short stories on brothers as we continue to do things around the district.